My name is Emily Carter, and I have always thought of myself as strong, someone who could hold her ground no matter what life threw at her. But there are moments in life that shake you so deeply that even the strongest knees buckle. That day, when I thought I had everything under control, was the day that tested me in ways I never imagined. It began with an innocent invitation and ended with a truth so raw that I still feel it in the quiet hours of the night. It started on a Saturday afternoon when I found myself at the edge of the forest near my hometown in Vermont. My childhood friend, Michael Reed, had just returned after years away. He had been living out west, working as a firefighter, and had come home for the summer to take a break from the chaos of his job. When he called me and suggested a hike through the trails we used to explore as kids, I didn't hesitate. I thought it would be simple, a way to catch up, laugh, and remember the days before life became complicated. When I saw him waiting by the trailhead, it felt like time folded in on itself. He was taller than I remembered, broader, with suntan skin that spoke of endless days outdoors. His green eyes carried the same warmth I remembered, but there was something behind them now, something older, heavier. "Emily," he said, and the way my name sounded in his voice made my heart lurch. I told myself it was just nostalgia, but I wasn't sure. We started walking. The air was cool but sweet with the smell of pine and earth. For a while it was easy, just two friends talking, laughing at old memories. We talked about high school, about how he used to prank our teachers, and how I always ended up the one covering for him. He told me about the fires he'd fought, about how sometimes the world feels like it's burning from the inside out, and how coming home was the only way he knew to breathe again. The trail grew steeper, and as we climbed higher, the conversation grew quieter. The sound of our footsteps and the occasional bird call filled the spaces between words. There was a peace to it, but also something unspoken hanging in the air. I felt it every time I looked at him and found him already watching me. By the time we reached the clearing near the top of the hill, the sky had started to change. Clouds gathered, thick and gray, and a low rumble of thunder echoed in the distance. "We might get caught in it," I said, looking up at the sky. He smiled a little and said, "We've been through worse storms than this." We sat on an old fallen log, catching our breath. That was when he started talking, really talking, not about the surface things, but about the things that had been eating at him. He told me about the losses he'd faced, about the weight of carrying other people's lives on his shoulders. And then he told me something I never expected, that for all those years, whenever things got hard, he thought of me. That somehow, the memory of me had been a place he could come home to when there was nowhere else to go. It was so much all at once. I felt my throat close up as I tried to find words, but there were none. He reached for my hand, and the moment our fingers touched, a shiver went through me. It wasn't just friendship anymore. It hadn't been for a long time, if I was honest with myself. Then the rain came. At first, it was just a drizzle, but within minutes, it was pouring. We ran, laughing and half slipping as we tried to get back down the trail, but the ground had already turned slick. Halfway down, I stumbled on a rock and my knees buckled. Before I could hit the ground, Michael caught me, his arms wrapping around me in one strong, steadying motion. For a moment, I just stood there, leaning against him while the rain soaked us through. My heart was pounding so hard I thought he could hear it. "You okay?" he asked, his voice low, his face so close I could see every drop of rain clinging to his lashes. I nodded, but I wasn't sure if that was the truth. Because I wasn't just shaken from the fall. I was shaken by him, by the way he held me, by the depth in his eyes, by the years of unspoken feelings that suddenly felt too big to ignore. We kept moving, but the path had become more treacherous. Every step was a challenge. Michael stayed right behind me, close enough that I could feel the warmth of him even through the rain. At one point, the trail narrowed and dipped steeply, and I froze. My heart raced, fear and something else tangling up inside me. "I can't," I whispered, staring at the drop. "You can," he said, his voice calm. "I'm right here. Just take it one step at a time. Don't look down. Just trust me." I took a shaky breath and stepped forward, and immediately I felt his hands steadying me from behind. Every time I faltered, he was there, guiding me, never letting me slip. Deeper and deeper we went into the trail, into the storm, into something I couldn't name. And with each step, something inside me began to unravel. By the time we made it to the bottom, I was trembling, not from fear but from everything I'd been holding in for years. At the base of the trail, soaked and muddy, we finally stopped. I turned to him, and for a long moment, we just stood there, breathing hard. Then he reached up, brushing a strand of wet hair from my face. "Emily," he said softly, like it was a confession. And in that moment I knew. I knew what I felt, what I'd been too afraid to admit. "I thought I lost you," he whispered, his forehead resting against mine. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't hold back. I told him that I had missed him, that I had spent years pretending I didn't care when I did, that he had been the one constant in a world that kept changing. The rain slowed, and the sky opened just enough for a faint light to shine through. It wasn't a perfect ending. Life rarely gives us those. But it was a beginning, one that started with shaky knees and a trail that forced us to face everything we had been running from. That night, after I had gone home, after I had showered and wrapped myself in a blanket, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About the way he had held me, the way he had stayed right behind me, no matter how hard the path got. It wasn't just about the hike or the storm. It was about knowing that sometimes when you think you're falling, someone will be there to catch you, and that maybe, just maybe, you can catch them too. In the days that followed, Michael and I talked more. We didn't rush into anything, but there was a new understanding between us, a connection we had finally stopped pretending didn't exist. We began spending more time together, walking, talking, and letting the walls we'd built around our hearts come down one piece at a time. Every time I think back to that day, I remember how my knees buckled, how I thought I was falling, and how he kept going, deeper into the storm, deeper into the truth, and deeper into my heart. And that's the thing about love. Sometimes it doesn't arrive gently. Sometimes it knocks the wind out of you and leaves you trembling. But if you're lucky, someone will be there to hold you up when you can't stand on your own.